This is Board President Sonia Early of the California Physician Assistant Board, and I would like to call the meeting to order at 8:37 a.m. And today is November 8th, 2024. Ms. Herr, will you call the roll?
Good morning, Charles Alexander,
Present.
Armenta, Sonia Early,
Present.
Diego Insuza. Diego is absent. Vasco Dianque.
Present.
Barbara Snow. Present. Sai.
Here.
Okay, and that concludes the roll call.
And we have a quorum. Thank you so much. Our first action on the agenda is consideration approval for the August 9th, 2024 board minutes. Trust that everyone has had an opportunity to review those minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none. Do we have any comments from the board or for the floor? Do you have any comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen here shortly. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and send it to all panelists. Or you can raise your hand by clicking on the outline of a hand. The instructions are on the screen. At this time, I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Right, hearing none. Do we have public comment? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Deanna. Make a motion to approve the board minutes.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Seconded.
And then do we have more public comments in the room? And WebEx?
This is the moderator. Q&A is open. You're welcome to submit your requests by clicking on the question mark, typing the word comment, send it to all panelists, or raising your hand by clicking the outline of a hand. No requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Herr, will you call the roll for a vote?
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Armenta,
Aye.
Sonia Early.
Aye.
Diego Insuza. Diego is absent. Vasco Dianque.
Aye.
Snow. Aye. List the votes.
The motion stands approved. Moving on to item number 4, public comment on items not on the agenda. Just to note that the board may not discuss or take any action on any matter raised during the public comment section that is not included on the agenda, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda for further meetings. Is there any public comment from the floor? Right, on WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you're logged in and would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and send it to all panelists. Or you can raise your hand by pressing the outline of a hand. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. All right, moving on to agenda item number 5, we have the introduction and swearing in of our newest board member, Dr. Sai. Dr. Sai, Belling Sai, medical doctor, has been appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom to the Physician Assistant Board. Dr. Sai has been an attending physician at the Caring ENT since 2016. He has been a clinical assistant professor of the head and neck and surgery at the University of California, Los Angeles School of Medicine since 2008, and an attending surgeon at the University of California, Los Angeles Olive View Medical Center since 2012. He is a member of the State Bar of California and the American College of Legal Medicine. Dr. Sai earned his Doctor of Medicine degree and jurisprudence Doctor of Degree from Southern Illinois University and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Geography from the University of California, Los Angeles. Dr. Sai, we'd like to swear you in. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Excellent. So if you can raise your right hand wherever you are and repeat after me. I, and your name,
I, Feeling Sai,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well
that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the board in the months coming. So thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you
Uh,
again.
Moving, or is there any public comments? Floor, and then also on WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click that question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or raise your hand by clicking the outline of a hand. This time there are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. And moving on to item number 6, nomination and election of the physician assistant board officers. And we'll move on to our board counsel, Michael Knutz.
Good morning, Madam President, members, and welcome to your elections for the 2025 year of the board. Seems like we were just doing this
Yes.
a couple months ago, but I'm showing my age with that, I believe. So we will begin with the nominations and elections of the board president. Are there any nominations for board president from members?
Yes.
Nominate myself again to repeat as reprise as president.
And I would like to nominate Dr. Vasco Dion Kidd for physician assistant board president.
Okay, we have 2 nominations. Are there any other nominations? Would each of you like to make a statement?
You want to go first or shall I?
Sure. So it would be an honor and privilege to work with really talented, dedicated, and outstanding board members. I feel that I have, over the last year, couple years, brought subject matter expertise to the board on a variety of matters related to physician assistant education, training, regulatory licensing, and enforcement. I feel that at this time, I'm the most prepared as a practicing physician assistant and also as a director of advanced practice. I'm one of the most published physician assistants in the state of California and in the country on PA postgraduate training and practice. So I feel that this is a good opportunity for me to share and expand on the work of the board, ensure that the board is meeting its strategic priorities and mandate. So I hope that I will receive a unanimous vote as your president of the Physician Assistant Board. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dion. So as you know, I served as president before and was asked to do so to step up by Jed Grant, our president before that, and had the encouragement of Bob Sachs as well. I think the pressing issue before us is obviously sunset. And what is it we're going to do there? And I think it's in a dangerous environment that we're doing that. We're entering an environment of projected deficits. And a real simple thing to do to save money is get rid of boards such as potentially this one. I could see easily where the legislature would say, you're under medical board before. Why can't we save some money and do that again? I think that would be a disservice. I think it's important to keep this board intact, particularly as the profession grows. So in that area, I think we need somebody to go to Sacramento when the time comes that speaks legislative speak, if you will, that can communicate effectively with legislatures, understands how they process these things. And I think I'm capable, the most capable of any of us of doing that, presenting on the board. I also think it's important that the legislature sees a public member as at the head of this, because we don't want to get into the same problem that I think the perception that the public has of medical board, where it is protecting physicians rather than protecting the public, which is our specific mandate. So those are the couple of reasons I think that I'm probably best equipped to do that. Dion is no doubt exceptionally talented PA board. This will be my last year, so I would like to leave behind a record of helping survive us through the sunset year. And then in subsequent years, I think Dion can ably proceed in a president capacity if that's what he chooses to do and the board members agree. So that is my 2 cents worth.
Thank you both. Is there, may I just, is there any discussion from board members?
I'd like to say that I hate having to choose between you two. You're both excellent. I've gotten to know you both. And you both do a great job. But when it's time to vote, I'll vote. But I just wanted to say that first.
Any other board discussion? Public comment in the room? Hearing none. Public comment on WebEx, please, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark in the square, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or raise your hand by clicking the outline of a hand. There are no comments. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Please. We'll call for the vote now. And when you vote, since we have more than one candidate, just state the name of the board member that you're voting.
Excuse me, can we not ask questions of the candidates? We buy very quickly.
You may. We can open it back up if it's okay with Madam President. We can open it back up.
Okay, I'm sorry to delay it, but well, board member presents a good argument in terms of sunset issue and the experience I know that he's had previously. That I think it's very important for this board. I would ask Dion the same kind of question for getting ready to go. Period. And how would you deal with that? How would you confront it? With technology?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander. I would be well prepped for the sunset hearing. I would work with our executive officer. I would work with our team. We would do mock reviews before we went to the actual sunset. I helped to draft Section 7 and quite frankly, a lot of the sunset language that we're going to be reviewing today. So I'm very familiar with that language. I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to Senate Bill 697. As a clinician, I've been practicing as a PA. If there's questions regarding the demographics of PAs, practicing scope of practice for PAs, those are questions that the legislature may ask, and I would be the most appropriate person to address that as a practicing clinician. I've been before boards before. I've been before high stakes meetings, and I've done extremely well. I know where I need to review and make sure that I'm up to speed on all the information, but I do think I'm ready for this opportunity. And I have no doubt that I would be able to speak the language that the California legislature requires and be able to ensure that we have another 5. I have no doubt that I would be able to meet the requisite requirements and ensure that we have 5 years where we're funded.
Of course, I would ask Board Member Armenta the same question in terms of what gives you confidence of your skills and experience that carry this forward.
Well, I remember the old saying, those that don't like sausage, law should never watch either be. It is a tricky thing to get legislators to agree, particularly when they're in a cost-cutting mood. So those sensitivities need to be understood, and that is a function both of legislation and politics. I've repeatedly been consulted by various assembly members and Senate members in California on all types of different varying legislation and the pathways to get passed. So those experiences in helping craft legislation and navigate the ways to get it done, I think are critical experience points. The other thing is testimony in front of a live audience. I think Vasco's is good, but when setting committee with a bunch of senators and assemblymen, it can be nerve-wracking. And unless you've stood up in front of a jury or a court of appeals or such and done that type of thing, it can be nerve-wracking. You do have to have, I think, some of that experience. Biggest thing, I think, though, will be assuring them that we understand our mandate and we'll stay within the confines of our mandate. I think that's an important aspect. I think that the easy way out for the legislature is to say, well, we think this board may be exceeding its mandate, therefore, why not just save some money at the same time and get rid of it? That concerns me. So that's why I think I can put the best face on this for our continued survivability. And in fact, because of Dion's experience, I would want him to stay on as vice president. I'm going to nominate him. We get to that as vice president, so that when he goes also to the Senate and Assembly, there's also a face there from a practitioner standpoint.
And just if I may add, I may not necessarily run to be vice president because I'm running for president. And I just want to make sure there's no indication that in an austere environment that there is any indication that they would actually shut down the PA board. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I think certainly there's an opportunity to look for ways to cost cut to ensure that we're fiscally responsible in the way that we address our finances. But certainly the board has done extremely well. I think we've probably done a little bit better than the medical board in terms of our enforcement actions and our ways that we have taken care of our financial house. So I have no concerns related to that. I think at the end of the day, this is going to boil down to who's the subject matter expert and who's best to represent the board. As a practicing clinician, as one who understands Senate Bill 697, has a panoramic view of the workforce in the state of California, who is consulted by constituent organizations, who's a national leader, not only locally, regionally here, but across the country. I feel that I'm the best fit to be president, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to represent this board in 2025 and beyond.
Just overwhelmed. Honestly, it's been stressful. Tuesday was my birthday, national election.
Happy birthday.
And thank you.
Happy birthday.
I'll count it later. Without saying more, I'm pretty shell shocked. Tuesday. Well, I'm here and I am listening and I'm fully purposed. I am just on bigger, a different level.
Any further board member discussion?
No, I guess. I'll stay. I guess, it could work either way. You mentioned vice president. Either vice president, Dion is elected. I think both carry a great deal of experience. Certainly challenge any issues that go for this board, regardless of what. So I just wanted to throw that out, just marinate on, because I think both are extremely talented. hard to choose one. Just went through that process last week. and-
Well, I don't want to be compared to any other.
It's so hard to choose one, so I yield my conversation here. And move forward, so.
We have co-presidents. I'm sure we can't, but I'm just saying.
Hey, are we ready to vote?
Sure.
Yeah, let's call the vote.
Rose Alexander,
What are we voting for?
Say the name of the member that you're voting for.
We remember, it,
Loner Manta,
Menta.
Sonia Early,
Kid.
So Diankit,
So do-
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Deborah Snow,
I'm gonna vote for Juan, although I think Kit was excellent at job. Partly because Juan, it's his last year. Partly, he's another fellow public member. Of all that. Just, this is very hard. I think I'd be happy to be a board member with either's direction.
That's a vote for member Armenta. So,
Yes.
the vote is 3-2. So, member Kidd is elected president.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope, this word of support for both of you. I just hope all on expertise.
This is the moderator. Sorry to interrupt. If you can please speak a little bit louder and in direction of the microphones. Thank you.
Sky Chuck.
Yes, to the ceiling. Thank you.
I guess my comment was, I hope that, like, it works closely with board member Armenta to advance this board. I think, what was because of Kid's term, I mean, he's gonna be here longer. But yet, the expertise of Armenta is so important for us to this board. My comment, and I would forward fellow board member as vice.
Are there any nominations for vice president?
I nominate board member Armenta.
Are there any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none. Mr. Armenta, would you like to?
Sure, thank you. So I'll be happy to serve in the capacity of vice president, because I think, if I can ask our executive officer, I think both the vice president and the president will be present to discuss sunset, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that I think fits and would help us, and I'm completely confident that Dion and I can work together to shape this, so that we can ensure survivability. Don't you?
Absolutely. And I think, and let me just say this, I have no doubt that the board will survive. Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned or anxious that the board won't be here in 5 years.
I had a similarly optimistic view a few days ago. So you never know. So yes, no, I'm happy to serve as vice president. And I think Dion and I can work together well with our executive officer to move forward.
But just, are we allowed to have some discussion?
Yeah, any board member discussions?
So I just want to be transparent. Diego did express interest in being vice president. He expressed that to me personally, as well as to Sonia. Sent him a text message. He just recently had a baby, so he's not here. So his wife had a baby, I should say, right, 2 weeks ago. And so he did express his interest in being vice president. And unfortunately, he's not here to express his candidacy, but he was the person that I would have nominated to be vice president.
Any further discussion? Any public comment in the room? Hearing none, any public comment on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you're logged in and would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type the word comment and send it to all panelists. You can also raise your hand by clicking on the outline of a hand. There are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Please. Okay, we can call the vote, and this time you can just vote aye or nay on the nomination of Mr. Armenta, Member Armenta for Vice President.
Charles Alexander.
Aye.
Armenta.
Aye.
Mia Early. Vasco Dianke.
Aye.
Snow. Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Member Armenta.
Thank you.
That concludes our board member elections for 2025.
Well, congratulations to both of you. I'm so excited to be able to leave the board in good hands. So congratulations to President and Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Glad we covered that. Now moving on to item number 7, which is board member recognition and commendations from President-elect Kidd.
Absolutely. And so I have the wonderful pleasure of really honoring and just really celebrating the achievements of Dr. Early and Dr. Alexander. They have been on the board, I think, for 12 years. Is that correct? And so last night we had an opportunity to really celebrate them over a nice dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. And so I just really want to thank them for their board service, for their commitment to the profession, just for being a great example to us all here on the board. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for being a mentor to me and so many others on the board. You folks are fantastic. These are big shoes for us to fill, that now you are transitioning off the board. And so you have left a legacy and a foundation that we can now build upon as board members. So I really want to thank you both for your leadership and thank you for your continued commitment. We pray and hope that you would stay a part of this board in some way or another, shape or form. And certainly thank you again for your service to the state of California, to the PA board, and again, to the profession. And there's a resolution I think we're going to be handing out. I'm going to be reading from that as well. Dr. Charles Alexander.
Carry on.
I'm going to carry it for you.
I think we can ship it to you.
Yeah. So Dr. Charles Alexander has served as a member of the California Physician Assistant Board from February 5th, 2013 to December 31st, 2014. And whereas the Physician Assistant Board recognizes and commends Member Alexander for his exemplary contributions and unwavering commitment during his tenure as Vice President of the Board and a member of the Education, Workforce, and Development Committee, which I've had the privilege to work with him on. Whereas Member Alexander's distinguished service in these roles has significantly advanced our mission and vision, setting a high standard for those who follow his footsteps. Now, therefore, be it bestowed, resolved, this 8th day of November 2024, the members of the California Physician Assistant Board and the staff express their deepest gratitude to Member Alexander for his wisdom, his leadership, excellence, dedication, invaluable contribution, and exemplary service during his terms of service on the board. Dr. Alexander, thank you.
Fine example.
They came to,
Stay up there. We got to get you next.
Wow.
sure.
Dr. Sonia Early, please come up. Oh, that's.
Gotcha.
Now, this has been my dyad partner in leadership for the last 12 months. She has been phenomenal, the first female and African-American to serve on the PA board. So I congratulate Dr. Sonia Early for her leadership. Whereas Sonia, Dr. Early has served as a member of the California Physician Assistant Board from February 5th, 2013 to December 31st, 2024. And whereas the Physician Assistant Board recognizes and commends Member Early for her exemplary contribution and unwavering commitment during her tenure as president of the board. a vice president of the board, and a member of the legislative committee. And whereas Member Early's distinguished service in these roles have significantly advanced our mission and vision, setting a high standard for those who follow in her footsteps. Now therefore, be it resolved, this 8th day of November 2024, the members of the California Physician Assistant Board and staff express their deepest gratitude to Member Early for her wisdom, leadership, excellence, dedication, invaluable contribution, and exemplary service during her terms of service to the board. Dr. Early, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Debbie, over there.
Picture, Bob.
Oh, she's taking pictures too, so I wanted to do in the frame.
Come on, Daddy.
I wanted.
You can have behind me. I want to make sure I take a look at those photos. Wait a minute, I got to get a picture, you too. Dr. Alexander, do you have your?
Yeah.
Hitched up to this post, yeah.
I know, right? Been together.
Thank you.
Send those to me.
Congratulations to you both. Thank you.
Thank you all. So appreciative. So big.
Fly with that.
I know, right? You might have to send it to her. Awesome. Well, I think we need a break right now. Why don't we take a break now for 10 minutes and then we will resume. All right, it is 9:20 and I would like to call the meeting back to order. Everyone is seated in place. I'll move on to item number 8, the president's report. So it has been such a wonderful time working with our EO, Khan, and our Vice President Kidd. We do meet regularly, and she, Executive Officer, has done an excellent job in keeping us well informed and up to speed on everything that we need to know coming for each meeting. In 2012, Dr. Alexander and I were appointed to the board by then Governor Brown. And so at that time in 2012, we had just moved from a physician assistant committee to a board. So when we came on in 2013, we had a fabulous time of being a fully committed and staffed board, which we will continue on. PA Bob Sachs was instrumental in that happening. And so we can't give enough credit to him for his 30 years of service on the PA board to get us to where we are now. But I am humbled to be in leadership for all those number of years. I work with an amazing staff who it almost brings me to tears seeing how beautiful you are and how many people that we've elected. We've gone from a small board of a staff of like 4 or 5 to a board, yes, of about 12 or 13. I just met our newest member. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm super excited about what our EO has done in this short time frame. I've had the ability to work with 3 EOs, and she has by far been the best EO that I have ever worked with. And so
I would second that motion.
This is the moderator. And I'm not sure if there's any talking going on. We can't hear audio from our end.
Are we still muted?
I'm mute.
You weren't muted. We heard the first part about praising the EO, but then after that it went quiet.
Okay. Maybe it was the jubilee in the room, right?
Rosanna's moment of fame and
I know. Let me see if I can recollect that. I will say, let me try to start all over because I'm super excited, but our EO, Khan and Vice President Kidd, I've worked with and we meet regularly to discuss all the pertinent information. And EO Khan has done an excellent job of keeping us apprised of all of the things that we should know and be up to speed on for our next board meeting. I came on in 2012 with Dr. Charles Alexander, and at that time we were appointed by, do we go off again? We've been appointed by Governor Brown. And so with that, we served 12 years. And so Bob Sachs was instrumental at that time in making moving from the physician assistant committee to a fully staffed PA board. And so we can't give enough credit to Bob Sachs for what he's done for the last 30 years as PA board president. And I'm humbled to be able to be a part of that. I went on where we got the Jubilee was from. Our EO has done such an amazing job with going from a small board of 4 people to now 11 or 12 people. I met the newest member and she's done an outstanding job and she's been the best EO. I've been a part of, again, 12 years and I've had 3 EOs and she's been by far the best EO out of all of them. So we're going to give her a round of applause again. I also went on to say that I'm just so full of happiness to be able to be a part of this team, my team, and the staff is wonderful. And as we met just a few minutes ago to say how much we love coming to work and doing such a great job in terms of our mission for the state of California and its constituents as far as the PA board. You guys are amazing and you've done a wonderful job. And I expect you to continue to love what you do and do an amazing job with our new president and vice president. So with that, I'm super excited to have Christy Shields back. I know I can't say enough about Christy Shields, but I am so comforted that she is on our team because in years before with 697, she was on it. And I love the fact that she's here because I feel like I'm in such good hands to make sure that we are doing everything correct. And our council is also on a mission to do everything correct. And so I sleep well at night knowing that she's a part of our team. And when she came back, I said, we don't have anything to worry about. We are in good hands. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So with that, I can't say enough, but I'm super excited. I'm humbled to be the first female president, as well as the first African-American president for the PA board. It shows that we are committed to what we do in healthcare, as well as what we're doing for our communities, and then also for the patients that we serve. So I'm super excited to have been in leadership for all these years, and I'm so humbled to work with such an amazing staff. So thank you again for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you, Dr. Early.
So with that, is there any public comment from the floor? All right, on WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and send it to all panelists. Or raise your hand by clicking the outline of a hand. At this time, there are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, where we have the executive officers report by EO Khan.
Morning, everyone. I just want to express my gratitude to Dr. Early, President Early, and Dr. Alexander for always supporting me, believing in me, and encouraging me. So I don't want to get too emotional, so I'm going to move on to my report, but thank you so much. The first thing that I will, my update is on personnel. On September 9th, 2024, Blia Her joined the PAB team as the new enforcement and licensing support technician. Ms. Her brings experience from her previous role as an office technician at the Department of Motor Vehicles, where she handled driver's license and vehicle registration matters. Please welcome Blia Her. The next item is the 2025 Sunset Review. On June 21st, staff received this 2025 Sunset Questionnaire from the Joint Oversight Committee. Since then, staff have been diligently working to provide thorough and accurate responses. A draft version of the report was presented to the board for review and feedback at its August 9th meeting. At this meeting, the completed draft report will be presented for discussion, final comments, and possible approval under agenda item number 14. Once approved by the board, the final sunset review will be submitted to DCA's Office of Publications Design and Editing to be formatted before its submission to the legislature. Lastly, outreach. Board staff had the pleasure of attending the annual California Academy of Physician Associates CAPA conference during Physician Assistant Week, October 3rd through the 6th in Burbank. The event serves as a key opportunity for in-person outreach, enabling staff to answer questions from licensees and students, sharing updates on laws and regulations governing physician assistant practice. We are grateful to CAPA for providing this platform to connect with the community and strengthen our outreach efforts. On October 22nd, board staff participated in the College and Career Fair hosted by the Antioch Unified School District at Deer Valley High School in Antioch. The event drew students from 3 local high schools, junior high schools, and continuation schools. More than 50 representatives from colleges, trade schools, various career fields, and student support services were present to offer valuable information and guidance on future pathways. This event provided a great opportunity for the board to engage directly with students interested in healthcare careers, raise awareness about the physician assistant profession, and offer insights into the education and licensing process. Engaging with young students helps ensure a pipeline of future professionals who are informed and excited about the field. That concludes my EO report. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Do you have any public comment from the floor? And from WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that question mark inside a square, type the word comments, and send it to all panelists. You can also raise your hand by clicking on the outline of a hand. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you. And moving on to item number 10, we have board activity report. We'll start off with Caldwell is not here. So. Start off with licensing. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jennifer Jimenez, and I will be providing the licensing activity report. And the lead licensing analyst, Julie Caldwell, is not able to. First report we're going to be looking at is the licensing population by type. And this report breaks down the different license types and statuses that the board has. The 2 license types that the board has is a regular full PA license and a temporary PA license. As of October 16th, 2024, the board has a total of 26,938 licensees, of which 18,286 are current and 4 are temporary licenses. These are individuals that can practice medicine. The next report is the summary of licensing activity. Between July 1st through September 30th of 2024, the board has received 557 applications. 409 of those are regular PA licenses that were issued, and 1 was a temporary PA license that was issued. During the quarter, 2,121 individuals renewed their license. The next report is pending application workload. This report gives an idea of how many applications are in the system and where they're at in the process. The desk age reports the number of days that the application has been assigned to a staff member. The application age reports the number of days since the submission of the application and the fees. And it could be, it's red in there because it shows 91 plus days, but that could mean that it hasn't been, it's been reviewed, it's just as deficient, like it's missing hand scores or verifications, something like that. At the time of this report, there were a total of 441 pending applications. And the last report is the license performance measures. The board has an internal target goal of completing an initial review of an application within 30 days of receiving the application and the payment. During this quarter, the board processing times for the complete applications is 29 days. This means that during the initial review of the application was complete and ready for licensure. The incomplete application is 78 days, and this means that they had deficiencies. This concludes the licensing activity report. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question, and thank you so much for that excellent report. So the 78 days is probably PA students that are applying early, and so they haven't got their PAN scores through their.
We're just waiting, yeah.
So it's just, so we start that process early and then just kind of wait for them to back into that with their. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez.
Thank
This
you.
was your first time. You did an excellent job.
I was nervous, but
I saw Caldwell, but I was like, Caldwell.
I know.
So, again, thank you, and thank you for our EO being instrumental in training our newest members to do an excellent job. So,
I will give credit to Christy Boone.
Yes,
Yes. Training.
yes, it's excellent. Good, great job. Thank you so much, Ms. Jimenez. We'll move on to item number B and complaints. It's Sarada.
Good morning. I'm Linda Serrano. I'm the new enforcement analyst. And I'm going to be providing you guys the some numbers on the enforcement activity report in regards to the first quarter, this July 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2024. And you will be able to see our previous stats as well. So for this first quarter, we have received 149 complaints and 11 conviction and arrest reports for a total of 160. The intake average days are 9, and we have 0 complaints pending in the intake. As far as complaints and investigations, 14 of those were referred for investigation. 205 complaints and investigations were closed. 343 complaints are pending at the desk analyst level. And 62 investigations are pending at the field. The average of the pending investigations are 440 days. And investigations that are over 8 months, we have about 55 cases. We also have provided you guys a chart. The following chart is on the complaints and how they're received by type and source. And that concludes my part.
Thank you, Ms. Serrano. And again, thank you so much. It's your first time being able to present with us. You did an excellent job. And I think your predecessor, Armando, is here just to make sure that trained you well. So congratulations to the both of you guys, and thank you again. I do want to say thank you again to our assistant EO, Christy Boone, who's not here. She does an instrumental job. She also meets with us during our meetings, and so she's instrumental. So even though she's not here, I just want to give her a congratulations and a shout out as well. So thank
On WebEx.
She's on WebEx. There you go. We're cheering for you on WebEx.
Thank you,
so much.
Sonia.
You're welcome. I appreciate you.
I appreciate
All right. Item number C, discipline. It's LaForte. We love the new name. The new last name.
Everyone.
Good morning.
So this morning I'll be presenting the discipline statistics year 2025 first quarter, which is July 1st through September 30th. For the suspension section, Q1, there was 1 automatic. There was 1 cease practice. Next section is the Office of the Attorney General transmittal section. There were 16 cases initiated, 47 cases pending, and the average age of the pending cases is 150. The next section, formal actions filed, withdrawn, dismissed, 4 accusations, and 1 accusation. Next page is the administrative outcomes final order section. Licenses placed, and 2 public approvals, petitions, statement denied, 1 petition for early termination denied. And finally, the citation and fine section. There were 16 citations issued. 3 resolved. And there was an error in the amount of the citations pending on the chart. Correct amount is 23. $1,250 in fines that were issued. And $500 in fines were withdrawn. Fines received for the first $1,000. And this concludes my presentation.
Excellent job, Ms. LaFord. Thank you so much for your service, and it's been great working with you. Awesome. And we'll move on to item number D, probation with Ms. Gerard.
Morning. Welcome, Dr. Sai. So probation, we have three. And 2 completed, so we have a slight increase. We have 36 active probation being in September. 8 are tolling, which we know that means they're not practicing or they're out of state. So we have total.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Gerard, I'm so excited that you are part of our team as well for diversion. I am comforted that you are the person going out to make sure everybody's doing the appropriate job. And it's just been a blessing to have you on our
Thank you
team.
very much, ma'am. I just realized that after I was glad to see you that. See you.
And we can move on to diversion.
Yes, ma'am. So we're holding a 5. I wanted to let you know during the summer months, contract for our vendor Maximus ends December 31st of this year. So over the summer, all the boards have been getting together and coming up jointly with the request for service. I think that's what the RFS is, to solicit vendors. So I will give you an update that as we approach.
Thank you so much for your service. I appreciate working with you, and I'll definitely deeply.
You too, ma'am.
This question, is it likely that Maximus will be the vendor? Is it
Well-
because of Maximus that?
Doctor, I can tell you but we'd be moving into this quarter now, October through. So the Maximus declined. That happened in October. Oh, I'm supposed to fly or whatever. Lost. Maximus did not. I don't think that. Else.
Was it, I'm not sure if this is proprietary or not, but was it due to the price point or?
Oh, I mean, I've speculated. There are a lot of boards. CA. We only have 5 people. I mean, that's 5 is the most we've had since I've been here. But other boards have hundreds. It has to do more. Us. I kind of just speculate. I've been working with Matt.
This is the moderator.
And just one more question, are there any potential equivalent organ vendors out there you folks are looking at?
I mean, whoever has big shoes to fill might. We'll see. We have 2 people that are not on probation. They're really the ones that it would be kind of up to that new vendor because we're kind of hands off with the secret people.
Okay.
I would. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Art. there any comments from the floor? And also on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you're logged in and would like to participate, click on the question mark inside the square, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. And moving on to item number 11 with Consumer Affairs, we have our director's update.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Judy Bucciarelli from the Department of Consumer Affairs, Board and Bureau Relations. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Before I begin, I'd like to recognize President Early and Member Alexander for your years of service to the board. And I'd also like to welcome Dr. Tsai. Okay, I have several updates today. The first one I'll begin with is a diversity, equity, and inclusion update. DCA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee met last month, and we are excited to announce its newly elected leadership. Reggie Varghese and Medical Board of California's Executive Director will serve as chair, and Marlon McManus, Board of Behavioral Sciences Assistant Executive Officer, will serve as vice chair. With Reggie and Marlon's years of experience and sincere commitment, we greatly look forward to accomplishing many DEI initiatives under their leadership. Next, I have an update about a new unconscious bias training for board members. I'm excited to share that DCA is updating its current unveiling unconscious bias training to specifically focus on board members, your critical roles, and how unconscious bias can affect your decision-making authority. The training will be self-paced and available in DCA's online learning management system. We anticipate launching this new training in early 2025, and board members will be required to take it annually. As a reminder, DCA offers over 20 online DEI training courses in its learning management system. While these courses are not mandatory, board members and board leaders are strongly encouraged to take these trainings as you are instrumental in leading department-wide change. Next, I have some information to share about the Military Licensing Resources webinar. To support and maximize outreach to our military community, DCA is hosting a second live webinar on November 21st to share information about military licensing resources. During the webinar, attendees will learn about licensing resources available to members of the military and their spouses or domestic partners. The webinar will also feature a demonstration of DCA's federal professional license portal and state registration process, which launched last fall, as well as a Q&A session. Webinar details and information will be available at www.dca.ca.gov/military. Next, the state's Department of Human Resources, also known as CalHR, recently released an updated travel policy to align with the federal policies outlined by the U.S. General Services Administration. Effective October 1st, DCA will use the federal standard meals and incidental expense rates for in-state and out-of-state travel. DCA will also use the federal standard and non-standard reimbursement lodging rate. Information on these changes was shared with board.
This is the moderator. The hearing room has cut out the video and the audio.
That's most unfortunate.
Go on recess and try to figure that out.
Okay, so let's take a break at this time and we'll come back in 10 minutes.
By the way, you were doing great.
You're doing excellent.
And I can hear the video came back on and I can hear you loud and clear now. So if you want to
Okay,
continue.
so we'll continue.
You want me to start from the beginning?
No, you can just start from wherever you left off.
So I'll just begin with the last sentence. Board members are encouraged to become familiar with the new travel expense reimbursement programs and rate. Please contact Board and Bureau of Relations with any questions regarding these changes. And next, I have 2 items for the upcoming season of giving. We are officially in the season of giving, and DCA is honored to join in the annual charitable campaigns launching this month, DCA's annual turkey drive and the state's Our Promise campaign. On November 13th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., board members and employees will have an opportunity to give back to the community. DCA will hold its 3rd annual turkey drive with donations benefiting Joey's Food Locker, a local food bank located near DCA headquarters in Sacramento. Donations of frozen turkeys and non-perishable food items will be accepted at DCA headquarters, Bureau of Automotive Repair headquarters, and the Evergreen building locations in the Sacramento area. For information on how to participate and donate, please contact your executive officer. The items collected during the event are part of a larger state employees food drive that takes place this time of year as well. Later in the month, DCA will announce collection box location. Every year, through the Our Promise charitable campaign, state employees and board members have an opportunity to support nonprofit causes they are passionate about through payroll deduction or giving a one-time donation. These contributions have a positive effect on our communities and is another way for DCA to show it cares for California. This year's campaign is led by Monica Vargas, Deputy Director of Communications, and Karen Navarro, Assistant Deputy Director of Communications. DCA's campaign officially launches on November 18th and runs through December 31st. In the meantime, please contact Board and Bureau of Relations with any questions or if you would like information on how you can give. This concludes DCA update today. Thank you for the opportunity to join you. At this time, I'll hand it back to President Early, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Ms. Bucciarelli, thank you. Great job. Any questions or comments from the floor? Okay, on WebEx? WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, send it to all panelists. You can also click on the outline of a hand to raise your hand. At this time, there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Please, thank you. Moving on to item number 12, budget update.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Hi. Can you go please into page, another few more pages down, please? I have one more. Actually, one more, sorry about that. So thank you. So good morning, everybody. My name is Suzanne Balkis, and I am the budget manager with DCA Budget Office. I want first to thank the board and the executive staff for allowing me to present today for the fund condition statement. On agenda item 12 in the packet, you will see the board's fund condition. We did not include any expenditure in today's presentation since we are projecting full appropriation. The budget office will continue to monitor these expenditures and report back to the board with monthly expenditure projections report as future fiscal months closes. The fund condition will give you a 4-year view of the board fund, and I will be talking about each section, top to bottom and left to right. So the first column is going to include prior year actuals, which is we have 23-24 actuals, beginning balance of about 4.2 million, budget year adjustment of -15,000, and that will give you an adjusted beginning balance of about 4.2 million. The board collected approximately $3 million in revenue and a total expenditure of $3.3 million. that give you a fund balance of about 4 million or 13.7 months in reserve. Next one we have is the current year, which is 24-25, which is going to be the second column. And it concludes FM3 projections, and it is based on the governor's budget and full appropriation. The board have a beginning balance of about 4 million. The board project an estimate of 3 million in revenue and about 3.4 million in total expenditure. We currently have a fund balance of about 3.5 million, which gives you about 11.7 months in reserve. And in the next two columns and ongoing, which is the 25-26 budget year and 26-27 budget year +1, projections, these are based on the pre-governor's budget, except for the income from surplus, which is a formula driven. A few things to note on the board's fund condition. The fund condition is a snapshot in time and only reflects the data that's used in its creation. One of the main factors driven expenditure increase in future years is a result of personal services adjustment. And this includes the GSI, which is the general salary increase, as well as employees comp and retirement rate adjustment. The budget office includes an ongoing 3% increase to expenditure on the fund condition to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. The fund condition does not include increased enforcement expenditures, which could create additional cost pressure to the board's fund in out years. The budget office will continue to work with the board on any future resources needed. Months in reserve will always go down in out years as we project revenue to remain consistent and expenditure to increase by 3%, which is we mentioned previously. Lastly, we would like to note to the board that any future legislation or an anticipated event could result in the board's need for additional resources, which would increase pressure on the fund. The budget office will continue to monitor the board's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication open with the executive staff. We have no immediate concern for the board, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Balkis. I appreciate that. I do have a question. It seems that in 23-24, we're going from 13 months in reserve and in an extrapolation to 2027. Is it correct? If I'm reading correctly, we only have 4 months in reserve?
Yes, and one of the factors that happens is again, the projections, it's based on the revenue, and the revenue is consistent, and we're doing full appropriation as well. And if you look at the fund condition, the revenue for the board is actually less than what the board is expenditure. So there is imbalance there. Okay. So the board is spending more than what they are receiving.
I think that's something that we need to pay close attention to,
Yes.
to ensure that there is kind of a financial balance there.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any further questions from the floor? Is there a public comment from WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you're logged in and would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and send it to all panelists. You can also raise your hand by pressing the outline of a hand. At this time, there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. And I would give the floor to Matt Nishimini for him going to be presenting the fees and fee increases and different scenarios.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Madam President. My name is Matt Nishimini. I'm with the DCA Budget Office in the Regulations Unit. I'm here to talk about, I'm available all morning to talk about two different areas of adjustment. One is the regulatory adjustment that you'll be talking about. Up on the screen here, we do have some workload. So what my office does is we go through a standard workload to determine what the actual costs are for your application, for your initial license, for your renewal license, and for your letter of endorsement. As you can see in every case, the actual workload is less than what you're charging. For the most part, you're at the statutory maximums. exception of the initial license, which is currently at 200 and has a statutory maximum of 250. You will be considering an increase. That's sort of step one, would be to increase all of your fees to the statutory caps of the regulatory process. Step one. Then step two would be to seek a legislative proposal, legislative change to increase your caps so that you have room to grow and you have room to cover some of that structural imbalance and to effectively eliminate that structural imbalance and give you options as you move into the future in the event there are unanticipated costs that you need to fund. And I can answer any questions.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. So thank you so much for that eloquent presentation. And I do think that we do have some structural imbalances that I think the proposal will help to address. So thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Balkis, and thank you for the meeting. I appreciate you coming and letting us know where our deficits are and what we need to do to improve.
Thank you. And I'll stick around for the rest of the morning.
And if I can, just one more question. So these would, and Rosanna, feel free to jump in, these would be incremental increases over 2025 with an increase in the statutory cap.
So there's two parts to this. The first one is to we're gonna, right now we're charging $200 for initial. We need to increase it to a statutory cap of 250. While that's happening, we're requesting cap increases for other fees to sunset. Okay, that would be the next part.
Then once that's approved just for the board, then that would require a regulatory
Exactly.
package.
Stakeholder, regulatory packages and all that.
Okay.
So let me just add, so the way we have it structured now is the regulatory increase from 200 to 250 for the initial license. We have a target date of July 1, 2025. That would be our target, starting the next budget year. And then, as your EO just mentioned, you would be proposing statutory changes during your sunset process. And those caps, for example, for the initial and for the renewal fees would go from 250 to 500 and from 300 to 500. And then some of the application also would go up. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a range. So currently the initial, if we raise it to 250, that is the cap. We would keep that as the floor, and then we would have a cap of 500, so you could increase through the regulatory process. But effective upon enactment of the sunset legislation, that 250 would remain. So your current levels would still remain. Your licensees would not see an immediate fee increase. It would only be in the future in the event this body, this board opted to promulgate regulations to increase those fees.
I think that's really important because if we had a comprehensive fee increase, that might receive some pushback from the licensees. So the ability to have more of an incremental approach, if the board felt that was the necessary path forward, would be advantageous.
So it gives you options as you move forward. As a reminder, this board, this fund has a statutory limit of 24 months as a fund balance reserve. We typically think somewhere between 10 and 12 months is healthy. In the past, you might have heard 3 to 6 months, but that's no longer the case as we see inflation, just the cost of doing business is increasing. So we're thinking, and you guys are currently around 12 months, and we think that that's prudent.
Thank you. Excellent information.
Any other questions from the floor? On WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you'd like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. At this time, there are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
You can close the Q&A for WebEx, but we do have a question on the floor.
No, I appreciate the workload costs, this analysis, which is probably driving this purpose of raising the license fee. Is that correct?
So correct. As Ms. Balkis mentioned, you're structurally imbalanced. You're not bringing in enough revenues, and that's evident with the workload revenue. The board, so we call that a structural imbalance. And right now, the board is structurally imbalanced by about $450,000 per year, and that's going to increase. And these accelerate over time. These structural imbalances increase over time. As Ms. Balk has said, if your revenues stay flat and your costs are increasing, that gap increases over time.
And that's exactly what we saw in terms of the months going from 13 and a half months to 4 months, which is actually scary because we're one of the most actually fiscal boards. So,
And let me just make one more comment. So this proposal for the sunset increases will allow this board to remain solvent and healthy through its next sunset review period in 2030.
Great.
And that was sort of the goal that we had here.
What's going to be the goal during the sunset?
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you again. All right, if we have no further questions from the floor, we'll move on to item number 13. And again, thank you, Mr. Yoshimini. Now we'll move to the medical board report from our newest member, Dr. Sai.
Welcome. Thank you. And I welcome the opportunity and the privilege and the honor of serving on the physician assistant board. Of course, I take over for Dr. Hawkins, who I have big shoes to fill. So I'll try to do my best. My report from the California Medical Board was from the last meeting. The California Medical Board met on August 22nd and 23rd. We welcome 3 new members appointed by the governor to the board, Dr. Irving Ayala Rodriguez, Ms. Annie Chung, Ms. Wendy Mitchell, and Ms. Marina Torres. These 4 members replace outgoing members. From the meeting, we also talked about the transition of the board from the application process to entirely digital. As we have done previously, all of our applications have been paper and based. And so once the applicant filed the paper application, then we would have to reach out to the schools and institutions to get their transcripts, to get their diplomas. The process has been slowly turning into online and digital. The last part of it was getting the transcripts and the diplomas from the educational institutions, and that has been completed. So now the entire application process is entirely digital, so that everything that the applicant needs to submit is done online. With that, the second part of the process is the actual license. For years past, we've always given out a plastic credit card type thing that shows your medical license, the license number, and the date. We have completely moved digital in the sense that there's no more plastic cards that the medical board mails out. Everything is now digital. You can download a online copy of your license, and there is an attached QR code so that anybody who needs to verify your license, they can scan your QR code and go directly to the medical board website and verify your license. So these are the things that would hopefully turn the entire process of licensing to become shorter and more effective. The second other topic that we discussed was there was a task force, as Dr. Hawkins mentioned in the last board meeting, that there was a task force that was formed to modify and update the mental and physical health questionnaire on the current licensing form. I was one of the members on the task force, and we heard from stakeholders regarding what should and should not be asked. Currently, it was current until the last board meeting, which we moved to and approved to change. The current questions about mental and physical health are 3. The first one is, are you currently enrolled in or participating in any drug, alcohol, or substance abuse recovery program or impaired practitioner program? That's the first one. The second one is, do you currently have any condition, including but not limited to emotional, mental, neurological, or other physical addictive or behavioral disorder that may impair your ability to practice medicine safely. And the last question is, do you currently have any other condition that impairs or limits your ability to practice medicine safely? And although the current question has been in existence, there's a large concern that applicants would sort of be hesitant to seek help in terms of substance abuse, physical health, mental health, just so that they can avoid answering in the positive on these questions. Or you basically perjure yourself and, answer in the opposite. With mental and physical health being a large component of our physical well-being, especially in healthcare providers, the board, through the task force and receiving stakeholders' concerns, we voted to adopt the new question, which is are you currently, it's one question, are you currently suffering from any condition that impairs your judgment or otherwise adversely affects your ability to practice medicine safely, that is, in a competent, ethical, and professional manner? You may answer no if you have any condition which does not impair your ability to practice medicine safely, or if you are receiving appropriate treatment for a condition, and due to that treatment, the condition does not impair your ability to practice medicine safely. So with this question, obviously, people who seek help, people who are currently in treatment, can honestly and safely say no. And we felt that that would be more advantageous to our current licensees, to the consumers of California, in providing higher quality of medical care as our healthcare providers are receiving the same kind of treatments that our patient are. So that was one of the major changes to our medical board licensing question. We also received a presentation on the hot button topic right now on AI. Mr. Frank Myers from the Federation of State Medical Boards actually gave a presentation on navigating the AI frontier, regulatory challenges and opportunities for state licensing boards. I think it's a very interesting and a hot button topic, as AI is brand new. We don't have a lot of information. We have a lot of potential, and but that potential may lead to pitfalls in healthcare. So we had an interesting discussion about that. And lastly, we elected new officers. The new executive officers of the California Medical Board are Ms. Christina Lawson, who is the president, Dr. James Helzer, vice president, Dr. Michelle Bolot as secretary. The next medical board meeting will be on November 21st and 22nd, 2024 in Los Angeles, California. And with that, I conclude my report.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Tsai. Do we have any questions from the floor? Do we have any questions on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment, and send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Excellent. Moving on to item number 14, update and discussion on the action of the 2025 Sunset Review by EO Khan.
Yes, during the May 2024 board meeting, an overview of the Sunset Review process was presented, along with an estimated timeline. Final report is due to the legislature by January 6, 2020. At its August 9th meeting, the board was presented with draft Sunset Review report for review and feedback. Since then, staff have continued to expand and update the responses. Additionally, staff have identified 2 new issues and are requesting legislative proposals for consideration. Issue 1 is the Issue 1 is fee increase and proposed statutory cap adjustment. The board is seeking legislative proposal to increase statutory caps for several fees to support financial stability and continued service to both applicants and licensees. It also provides the board with the flexibility to incrementally adjust the fees as necessary, ensuring long-term financial stability while minimizing the financial impact on applicants and licensees. If the statutory caps are approved, future fee increases necessary to sustain ongoing operations will be implemented through the regulatory process, which includes stakeholder engagement, public comment periods, and thorough review to ensure transparency and fairness. The second issue is the electronic submission of license renewal. To address concerns from the Office of Administrative Law regarding the board's authority to allow electronic license renewals, the board's regulatory council has proposed a legislative amendment. Currently, Business and Professions Code Section 3523 specifies that license renewals must be submitted on a form provided by the board, originally intended as a paper form. The proposed amendment would expand the board's authority to permit electronic renewal forms, aligning with the medical board's provisions and allowing for a modernized renewal process that includes online submission. I hope everyone had an opportunity to review the sunset report. The board's final comments of possible approval before submission to the legislature, which was part of the meeting materials. I hope everyone had an opportunity to review that. What we are requesting from you now is please review the attached sunset review report and provide any final comments or feedback. If the board agrees, please entertain a motion to adopt the draft 2025 sunset review report as revised per today's discussion, direct the executive officer to correct any factual inconsistencies, make any technical or non-substantive changes, and submit final report to the legislature.
So moved.
Yes. And I've also read the sunset reports, very well done. And so I'm not sure if I can verbatim repeat everything that you just said, but certainly I have a recommendation to approve the sunset report and direct the executive officer to make any corrections or edits as needed. Mike, help me out here. I'm sure I'm missing.
Well, we may want to just have discussion first
Yes.
and then make the motion. So why don't you go ahead and withdraw that?
So let me withdraw that so we can have a discussion.
Is there any discussion from the floor?
I want to ask a question. So we list all the legislative reviews that we made of proposed statutes. Is that a requirement or is that just custom and practice to put that in there?
What for the new issue, or I'm sorry?
You said page 63, read stamp. The bottom, it's all legislation sponsored by the board. I'm not sure we sponsor any legislation.
So all the legislations that were,
Review.
they're impacting the board itself. So these were all of them that were signed by the government. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, two parts. First of all, the term sponsored is a little troubling to me because sponsored is a term of art. It means that we actually went out and got an assemblyman or a senator to propose it.
So that's the term that was part of the sunset packet itself. The bold section was something that was already in the sunset packet. It was part of.
So they fed us this language.
Exactly, the top part and the bottom from there is everything that we put in there.
That's odd that they used the word sponsored as.
So just to dovetail off of,
Sponsored by the board
And
affecting.
so just,
So either sponsored by or affecting. So this
I guess.
very typical.
See, I'm doing what lawyers do to parse the language. What does this mean?
There's a template that they send to all boards, and it includes all of this information. So we're responding. All right.
There's both.
Yeah.
Sponsored.
I'll read and in the disjunctive.
There you go.
So then that's why we list all these to say what we review.
Yes.
All right.
it almost should say and or, right?
Right. Disjunctive.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, it's just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, because it just sounds like, and if they put it in there, then it's not our language. I'm not-
Right, yes.
If we're putting in language we supported, it makes it seem like we went out and actively sought legislation.
I will say that you have, and the staff have done an excellent job in putting this together. I know that it took months to do, and you've been working so hard and so diligent on it, and it looks great. And so thank you again. Any other comments from the floor? Are there any comments from WebEx? Oh, not
Let's,
yet.
let's go ahead with a motion now if we're ready.
So,
And if you want to use the motion language in the memo,
What page? I just have lost it.
Page 52.
All right.
if you'd like me to go ahead and read it and you can say something.
Yes, thank you.
Motion is to adopt the draft 2025 Sunset Review Report and direct the executive officer to correct any factual inconsistencies, make any technical or non-substantive changes, and submit the final report to the legislature.
Would make a motion, so moved.
is there a second? Okay, great. Thank you. Excellent. So we can call for a vote.
We need to.
Charles Alexander.
Wait,
I think we have to
do member.
Okay, so any member discussion before we move for a vote? Is there any discussion or comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type the word comments into to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests at this time. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. And now we can call for the vote.
Charles Alexander.
Aye.
Sonia Early.
Aye.
So Dianke.
All right.
Chris Snell. Aye.
And so motion stands. Excellent. All right. Moving on to item number 15.
Madam President, can I just comment? I want to congratulate you and your staff for putting this together. I know this is a monumental piece of work and you guys all did a fantastic job.
Everyone. Thank you again. Awesome. Okay, so moving on to item number 15, discussion of, let's see, possible action for proposal. We already did that proposal for the board meeting dates. So the first date that we have for the proposal for 2025 board meeting dates are Monday, February 10th, 2025, and that will give us about 94 days. And we're trying to make sure that we our meeting are less than 100 days for meetings. So that gives us 94 days. So we would be in compliance. Do you guys see that as being a good date?
Can I just ask what
Yes.
dates number we're on? I lost it.
All right. I think we are on, I
Mess with
think,
my calendar.
60.
117.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, thank you.
February.
February 10th, 2025.
17.
As we're looking at that, I just wanted to add, I've sort of heard us discuss the 100-day requirement before.
Right.
And I say that sort of as a misnomer because there is no requirement to meet every 100 days. The reason I think that you shoot for that is if you receive a proposed decision, we have 100 days to act on that. That would mean that we would never have to schedule a
Right.
separate meeting, but this board doesn't have a lot of discipline, so I try to stick around there, but I wouldn't do that as a hard.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Quite welcome.
Okay.
That makes it a little bit more flexible for us, and you guys moving to the new year.
Yeah.
So is May 10th, is that good for your schedules?
February 10th.
Sorry, February 10th.
February 10th works for me.
Good.
Deborah? Okay, excellent. So we'll move on to the next date, which is Monday, May 19th. And that is steering clear of Mother's Day and the holiday. So in the past, that has been very contentious if we have a board meeting next to Mother's Day. So it is not near Mother's Day for you guys. So does May 19th look efficient for your schedules? So the third date is Friday, August 15th, 2025. And so that is right in the summer schedule.
No, that's in San Diego, right?
Usually out of town, so
Okay.
All right, and the last meeting would be Monday, November 10th, 2025. So that looks sufficient in your schedule.
Typically a day before my birthday or a day after. my birthday.
Possible.
Yeah.
I think that date was just trying to make sure there's a holiday in November. I think that, and then there's also Thanksgiving, in the later in the month. So want to
So,
make sure
November 10th is the Monday after Veterans Day.
Monday after Veterans Day.
So that would be a November 10th.
That's the Monday after Veterans Day, as Chuck points
Oh,
out.
before it.
Yeah, so it's
Sorry,
before.
Right, yeah. So we may want to do a holiday.
Oh, that,
on the
yeah,
17th.
that might be a holiday. So maybe the 17th better.
17 sounds great.
17 sounds great. We don't want to be in the middle of their birthday. All right, so Monday, November 17th will also put us in between both holidays. So that'd be good. And then I think in the last president's meeting, they were mentioning how to conserve money. So I'm not sure, and maybe our council can let us know if we are still under the mandate to have in-person meetings versus going back to virtual meetings. So I think that might be something where we can make sure that we have a little bit more cost savings, but you can tell us if there's any new information on that.
Sure. That situation has not changed over the course of the year, but it's been moving around so much. There are now 4 distinct methods by which we can have a meeting. Traditional in-person meeting, traditional teleconference, which we've always been able to do. The difficulty there is you have to notice every location.
Right.
The third possibility is the new hybrid meeting format, where you have to have a quorum in one physical location. Once you have a quorum, then other members can attend virtually. And well, there's a new one for advisory. So for the most part, there is need for us to meet together in person, similarly to it was the way it was before. I mean, there's some other options we can talk about, just since I have the floor. One of the options that I really like is to do a traditional teleconference. We do not use the new hybrid rules that require a quorum in place. And have regional locations where more than one member saves on travel and also mitigates against the danger of doing a teleconference, which is that if one of the teleconference locations goes down, you have to adjourn or cancel the meeting. So just the thought going forward as to how you might want to.
Thank you.
And thank you for that information. With that being said, is there a motion to accept the dates?
Make a motion to accept the dates.
Is there? Sorry? Yes, the dates are Monday, February 10th, 2025, Monday, May 19th, 2025, Friday, August 15th, 2025, and Monday, November 17th, 2025.
Then I made a motion. I think Debbie, you second that motion.
All right, and so before we take a vote, is there any public comments? On the floor? And then also on WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment and send it to all panelists, or simply click on the outline of a hand. At this time, we have no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. And we can call for a vote. Yes, sir.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Armenta, Tina Early,
Aye.
Vasco Dion Kid,
Aye.
Deborah Snow.
Excellent. And the motion stands. Great. And so we're now moving on to item number 16, which is discussion and possible action to initiate rulemaking for Title 16, and that's by Christy Shields and Ms. Dillon.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Item 16. So discussion and possible action to initiate a rulemaking to amend Title 16 of the California Code of Regulations section 1399.550 regarding the initial license fee. And this package would essentially increase the application fee as discussed this meeting to fulfill the board's operation and for the next few years. So the board has maintained its current fee structure for several years. During the period of operational costs of steadily increasing inflation, rising administrative expenses, and enhanced regulatory responsibilities. And despite prudent fiscal management, the board faces challenges in meeting its financial obligations and maintaining service levels with the current fee structure. The requested fee increase is critical for the board to cover operational costs, including processing applications, maintaining licensing systems, and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. Additionally, adjusting this fee aligns with inflation rates and ensures that the board can continue to operate effectively without compromising service quality. So staff is requesting a proposed initial license fee adjustment from $200 to $250, which will have a minimal financial impact on applicants and licensees while significantly enhancing the board's ability to serve. And the State of California State Administrative Manual, Section 9210, provides that it is state policy for departments to recover full costs whenever social services are provided to others. Section 9210 of the State Administrative Manual specifies the full costs include all costs attributable directly to the activity plus a fair share of indirect costs which can be ascribed reasonably to the good or service provided. The additional revenue will be used to recover actual costs for providing licensing services, thereby helping to ensure the stability of the board's fund condition and continued board operations. As operational costs have steadily increased due to inflation and expanded regulatory responsibilities, these adjustments will ensure that service delivery to applicants and licensees can be maintained. Attachment 2 shows that the board is currently not recovering all costs attributable to initial licensure and that a fee increase is therefore necessary to help address lost revenue in the short term. Attachment 2 does indicate that further legislative authority will be needed to increase the board's current fee caps in Business and Professions Code Section 3521.1 to allow for further increases in fees in the future to address the current imbalance in the long term. The proposed increase in the fee is essential for the board to improve the board's current financial health and continue providing high-quality services to physician assistants in California. So please review the attachments, including the attached proposed regulatory language and costs associated with the proposed initial license fee increase and the rationale set forth. If the board agrees, to the motion prepared.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Dillon.
In the meeting material booklet, it's page 119.
19. All right, 119 in our booklet. Is there any questions? Does anybody have any comments from the floor?
And I think it's important to point out, great presentation, by the way.
Yes.
This does not impact the regulatory package that was passed October 1st of 2024. This is only related to this. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, so this is going to just handle the one area where you have authority currently to increase the fee to the cap, and the others would have to be, as she mentioned, addressed in legislation.
Thank you.
All right, is there, so we have comments, any other questions or comments from the floor? All right, I think right now we can entertain a motion in a second, and then we'll come back to public comment and web.
I'll move to make the motion to do the recommended action on this amendment.
All right, is there a public reading the motion into the record?
Where is it? I tear it
It's
out.
on page 2 of the memo. I don't have the staff number.
Actually, 120. Ms. Dillon, read that, and then if we can,
Say so moved.
yes, please read that, Ms. Dillon.
Okay. You see it? I see it.
And I apologize for the length of the motion. This is something the Office of Administrative Law has required us to do over time, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger every year.
I'll go ahead and do it. So the motion is to approve the proposed regulatory text amending Title 16 California Code of Regulations, Section 1399.550 set forth. In attachment 1, the board further directs staff to submit the text of the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agencies to review. And if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for hearing if requested. If no adverse comments are received during the 45-day public comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at section 1399.550 as noticed.
Excellent.
Second.
Second, thank you so much. Is there public comment from the floor? On WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right, and we can call for the vote.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Juan Armenta, Sonia Early,
Aye.
Vasco Dianke,
Aye.
Deborah Snow. Aye.
Excellent, and the motion stands approved. Excellent. Moving on to item number 17 and another discussion.
May I request a quick break, please?
Yes, please, we can have a quick break. Yes, we'll see. We will resume in 10 minutes. Thank you so much. We are ready to begin on item number 17. We had a brief break, and so we are now back live. Correct? Yes. All right, so we have discussion and possible action for to reconsider previously approved text by Ms. Shields and Ms. Dillon.
Good morning, Christy Shields, Regulations Counsel for the board. So we are bringing back to you text that was approved at your November board meeting, November 2023 board meeting. And as several of the issues that, we've highlighted in the memo, so I direct your attention to the memo. Hopefully you had a time to review it, but I just want to give a general overview of the changes because there were quite a number. And, the main changes have to do with the fact that I recognize that the text that you approved in November of 2023 refers to submission of the application at the board's Sacramento office. And that is a paper application. So this is apropos of the medical board's report. Your process has transitioned to an electronic online system. And that is known as Breeze. And so that needs to be reflected in the regulations. You will see in the materials the amount of detail that has been included to cover that entire process. I met with your staff, Ms. Caldwell, Ms. Bong, and Ms. Khan to discuss and make sure I had every aspect of the system covered in the regulations. This is how the other boards in the department who use Breeze have implemented regulations to show that their application process is an online system, requirements for signature and so forth. I did want to also highlight, however, there are 4 different items that are not submitted through Breeze that we also needed to cover, and that was not in the prior. And it's in attachment 2 that you approved. Attachment 1 is the new revised text that I'm proposing and suggesting. Look at the attachment 1 beginning on page 5, and honestly don't know what the number is.
I think it's 135.
Okay, great. So if you start at the bottom of page 5 and you look at subsection, subparagraph 11 of section A. So the first item that is submitted outside of the Breeze online process is the self-query report from the National Practitioner Data Bank, which is a federal clearing protocol discipline that is reported by boards across the country. It's individuals, and it's a method the board uses to verify history of discipline in other states. And so that paragraph covers your process, excuse me, for submission of a self-query report from the applicant to the board by the Federation of State Medical Boards via an email notice. That notice is sent report is available. It includes requirements for the applicant to place a self-query order report with the duration of state medical boards through a portal by visiting a specific website and following the instructions and paying any required fees to have their self-query report sent directly to the board. So that's the first item that was added outside of the Breeze process was included. The next item is paragraph 12 of that same subsection A. That includes the scores from the national enhanced scores for the examination, the licensing examination, verify that they have passed the licensing exam and how that process works through the electronic release of their scores directly to the board to show passage. The next item is the certification of graduation from an approved physician assistant program and all the requirements that you've seen certifying that they graduated from the CFP program and what that means. That's subparagraph 13. And then the next page is subparagraph 14. It's referred to subparagraph 2 that outlines the process for an applicant to furnish fingerprints to the board through a criminal history the California Department of Justice, all of those requirements. So any questions on that part of it? Okay. Then the next issue was items that were missing in compliance with legislation that's been enacted since 2019. And so Senate Bill 697 made numerous changes that were not reflected here. In addition, laws were enacted to place limitations on the board's ability to require criminal history application under beginning July 1st, 2020. That's Assembly Bill 2138. So you'll notice that in the text, there are several places where I've added exclusions to that are requiring disclosure of history of discipline. So when Assembly Bill 2138 was first enacted, the Office of Administrative Law seemed okay with us simply deleting the criminal conviction question from our applications, but that interpretation has changed in the last couple of years to actually also cover any history disclosure that might implicate criminal history. So for instance, if you were disciplined by another state and it was based on a criminal conviction, that would be considered asking for criminal history in the interpretation of the Office of Administrative Law. I argued and argued, and I was not successful in the arguments for my other clients that the question could be asked without any kind of limitation. So you'll see in various sections of the text, it'll say excluding criminal conviction, any criminal conviction history. Have you had discipline in another state, for instance? So that was added throughout wherever there's a request for information from an applicant. In addition, there are a lot of expedites, as you know, for permits, for applications. That what was missing in your prior text was the documentation you'd require to prove you qualify for the expedite, which is really critical to avoid fraud in the application process. So there have been a number of changes, including last July 1st. The requirement that we expedite active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are enrolled in the Skill Bridge program, which is a work program that allows people to work with private employers while they're still in the military. That needed to be added to the application process. And then and there is another sort of a large policy issue I wanted to bring to your attention. And if you look at the 4 of the memo, and I don't agree with much station number in your material, but
Does that?
page 4 of the memo in the middle. One of the changes that
That's 121.
129. I don't know. Yeah, I printed out a paper copy and I had trouble getting on. I just, so I'm not sure exactly. But in the original proposal that you had approved in November, you had a question, and this was covered in the medical board report. I really appreciate Dr. Tsai's rendition of that meeting, had to do with the mental health question. And so the question I've reproduced here that you approved in November says that as a condition of licensure, the applicant shall disclose whether they have any practice impairments or limitations. And then the definition states that one of the criteria for responding in the affirmative would be that the applicant has ever been diagnosed or treated for a mental illness, disease, or disorder that would interfere with their ability to practice medicine. And in my research on this issue, there's been a lot of litigation over the overbreadth of a mental health question in an application. And most of the agencies lost those battles because really the inquiry should be limited to a current condition that affects competency. Your existing authority for the discipline involves that currency of a physical or mental illness that affects competency. But I also know that in 2018, the state bar was sued over a similar question. They ended up settling that lawsuit at the lower court level. But then right after that, the governor signed legislation that prohibited them from asking the question and actually collecting any medical records. And I've attached that legislation and the policy arguments they made for why that question should not be asked in the meeting materials for policy consideration. And I, conferred with your licensing staff, and it appears that for the years only gotten 2 affirmative responses to a similar question, which was on the application previously. And on those cases, it was not used to restrict or limit or deny the license. So I guess what I'm saying is, I conferred with your board counsel on this, and we're in agreement that maybe the recommendation would be to just remove the question altogether, because it doesn't seem to be useful for you, at least in our recent history, in the last 10 years or so. It hasn't been used. And for all the policy reasons that were discussed in the Judiciary Committee analysis that I provided you, and I think was discussed in the medical report of the medical board's task force, given that there is litigation potential for this type of question, would the value of that question really worth the risk of having potential litigation come from that question? So my recommendation and in consultation with board counsel is that we remove the question from the application. It would not prevent you from taking an action if you were to obtain information about a mental health issue from another source. This would just remove the requirement that someone has to assess themselves and disclose whether they have a condition that would limit their ability to practice safely. If you don't agree with that recommendation, I've put another question option in there for you to consider. At the bottom of the page, it starts with the potential substitute question if you agree with the legal recommendation. And that would state that the impairment means a medical condition which currently impairs or limits the applicant's ability to practice medicine with reasonable skill and safety. This is copied from a regulation that was approved and passed for the acupuncture board, who also has similar authority to limit and restrict a license. So I know it would go through, but it's really a policy call on the risk issue that I mentioned. So if you want to do this question, I would say that go with a question that's along the lines as was reported from the medical board, that it focuses on current status, not have you ever been, because I don't think that's defensible. So any questions on?
That was a great legal analysis, and I absolutely support it 100%. From my perspective, I absolutely agree with you and board counsel on omitting the question, but certainly we're going to have a discussion as a board as to what the best options are, either to adopt this proposed kind of secondary language, which is probably still not without some level of risk. So it seems that your first suggestion would probably be more in line with of best practices and thinkings around this, given some of the legislative history.
If you do have a situation that evolves and we have a factual situation where it happened and you were not aware of it and you could have maybe caught it through a question, you could always put it back. Application. This is not like forever. And this is what the value of rulemakings and having the power to design your application, what you think is in the best interest of the public, and still be able to consider doing that. Sure.
And I just wanted to throw in really quick. This is upon application.
Right.
If the board at some point receives evidence that a licensee may have a mental or physical condition that prohibits, the board can take action to compel an examination and can potentially bring an interim suspension or
Would be business
other.
operations code section 820 and following, right?
Thank you for that. I'm fine with the current condition. That sounds reasonable. Your analysis, what concerns me is removing about the history of discipline. If I'm understanding it right, because we're Consumer Protection Board.
Oh, no, we're not removing any history.
Oh, okay. I was a little confused.
Okay, so let me see if I can find the question. I'm sorry, I've just been able to get online. Some reason the Wi-Fi in this building's spotty, at least for me. I don't know what everybody else has discovered, but
I guess it's 10, remove subparagraph, which states the applicant who's been charged with found who did unprofessional conduct, unlicensed activity.
well, I removed that question because it was duplicative. Of
Oh,
other
okay.
questions in
So
the
it's
application.
That's
The
what
only
I
thing
thought you said.
I removed, that I know was a concern staff raised was requesting whether they've been a sex offender, convicted as a sex offender and had registered as a sex offender. And and requiring them to disclose arrest reports. Because this is section 480, subsection F, paragraph 2, prohibits the board from collecting a criminal history of any applicant. Ask for it. The assumption, if you recall, with that legislation was we would get all the information we need through the rap sheet. Well, we know that's not true. We made those arguments and the legislature didn't agree with us. So we're not allowed to ask for it. So I took that information off. So we still ask for discipline in other states.
Okay.
But it says excluding discipline involving criminal history.
Okay.
Right? So you, like that example I gave you, if they had been convicted, I don't know of anything in another state, and they were disciplined by their licensing board in Arizona, Nevada or something, they would not have to report that on this application. That's the legislature's decision, and OAL rigorously enforces that interpretation. I've tried to get around it by arguing that, we are explicitly allowed to ask for discipline. It says we can. And they're like, I don't care if you're asking for criminal history, you can't have it. So I'm just trying to conform with lessons learned from other healing arts boards in the department where we went most recently with the hygiene board on this issue, and they made us take all those or narrow those questions to eliminate criminal history questions.
Thank you for arguing that.
Well, I did. I argued hard. I mean, Lynn Forsyth was our executive officer at the time, and I, was just amazed at how they didn't understand. We had an applicant who had reported 14 felonies and had a clear rap sheet. So
They had the legislative momentum of.
they did. The ban the box was the big movement back then. It still, I think, is. We took it off the state employee application. We took it off all of our.
This institutional momentum for that policy.
That's it. And the state's made that decision. So I just try to conform it to what the law currently.
So let me ask, I'm sorry, are you done?
Yes.
Thank you. So Madam President, I want to see if I can get my head around a couple issues here. So the case in which the state bar was knocked back for asking similar questions, was it really not necessarily 6, but the subsections where we got into all the definitions of what everything meant that got them in trouble?
What got them in trouble was, have you ever been ever had a medical condition.
Okay, so A1 basically.
And so what they settled on with the plaintiffs in that case was a question that, as kind of like medical board was doing, was current condition.
Okay.
Do you have a current condition? So that's when they ended up revising the question to in 2019 or 20, I can't remember. But the governor signed the bill that I attached it.
Right.
That does not allow them to collect any medical records relating to mental health, including by consent of the applicant to disclose their records. It's the moral character application component. So they don't ask that. They don't ask about mental health or medical condition at all anymore for application.
So is it distinguishable just to ask just what 6 says alone as a condition of licensure that applicants shall disclose whether they have any and maybe current practice impairments or limitations?
If you want to continue asking the question, my suggestion was to ask whether they have a medical condition which currently impairs or limits the applicant's ability to practice medicine with reasonable skill and safety, because that's the standard. If you have a mental condition that doesn't affect your ability to practice medicine with skill and safety, you wouldn't disclose.
Right.
Right? And that's what they were talking about with the medical board. You wouldn't be disclosing it because you have it, but it's not impairing you.
Right.
So you don't have to answer yes, right? But it's also got to be a current condition, not one you had, in the hospital 10 years ago ever.
Right.
I mean, that's not relevant. That's not reasonable to ask that question. So what I gave you was a question that the Office of Administrative Law has approved in regulation for another healing arts board. I know it'll go through. I mean, I like the medical board's question, but I'm not sure if it went through regulation yet. And I know this one did, and it's been tested. So that's why I offered as an alternative.
Well, you said I'm sorry, go ahead.
The acupuncture board.
Acupuncture board.
It's in regulation. It just got adopted the end of last year, I believe.
The reason I like that approach rather than simply limiting it is, sure, we can raise it after the genie's out of the bottle, right? They have some mental health impairment or condition that comes to our attention because of a lapse in practice. Okay. But I think it's wise to also have this in our back pocket. If they didn't disclose a condition known to them at the time of licensure. Now, a little bit of a fool's errand, right? Because as a practical matter, is the schizophrenic really going to say, oh yeah, I'm schizophrenic and disclose this?
Experiencing.
Is somebody that has significant substance abuse problems that would affect practice, are they going to disclose it? Probably not. But it gives us, if some teeth later, if it's an obvious condition that should have been, that we can later put our teeth into if we need to revoke or suspend or put on probation. So I think there is some value in the suggestion that you presented to us to use a similar language to acupuncture.
And I would agree with that. I think, to your point, though, that language is not necessarily without some risk.
I could see problems, which I'm not going to obviously delineate in a public board meeting. I know that the litigation over the United States, usually the questions that are narrowly focused to current impairment are more defensible than ones that are overly broad that ask, have you ever been, had a condition? So that's that was my big flag when I saw that. I was like, what? No, that can't, not a good idea. So I think that, again, this is totally a policy call because I think it's a defensible position to make if you want it. But the question was, if you're not really using a similar question, which you've had in play for years, like more than 10, and we haven't really used it, like, but is there any value in it? Because most of the time, my experience, and Mr. Knutz can weigh in on this too, we get these mental health or physical illness affecting competency questions by way of criminal conviction. That's the number one way. We find out they get a criminal conviction, we realize there's an underlying mental health or physical impairment, addiction, or something that drove the conviction. That's the most common way. The other is a supervising physician or some other coworker sees something funny going on or their behavior. The third way that I've seen is through sort of an admission. You get strange letters like, you're watching me through your television. That was actually one I had for the dental board where he accused us of monitoring him remotely through his television. and that went all the way through and he was, revoked. So, I mean, those are the most common ways we get these kinds of situations coming through, and it can come through the application process. We get a hit on a core A criminal conviction, and there's an underlying mental health problem. That's when you would do your examination, and a subject matter expert would give us an opinion on whether that was something would affect competency and they should not be practicing or practicing restriction. So that's the process that I'm most familiar with in my experience here in the department since 2000. So that's what I was looking at from a practical standpoint. But if you feel like you might have a situation where it could, as Mr. Armenta said, then I would recommend the more narrow question. At least that would limit options for litigation based on, overbreadth and relevancy and jurisdiction. And those were kind of those main issues. And they've also raised the Americans with Disabilities Act too. But I think in California, we have a little more immunity in that area, probably, and in federal court anyway, as the state bar case recently.
So the balancing act we're doing here then
Yes.
is the risk of future litigation if we live something like this in.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Versus the low incidence of its utility that we've experienced over time anyway.
Yes. That's what I was kind of looking at. Again, if you have something come up in one of your cases, you could revisit this and put it back on the application.
And the low incidence of it happening before, we would have caught it by another means anyway.
That's what I'm thinking, kind of where I was going with that.
That makes sense. I mean, I think if I may, and I don't know if we're done with discussion on it, but I'd like to, is this something we're making a motion on?
Yes, so I'm sorry. I wanted to discuss this issue. I have the real.
Yeah.
One additional question.
Options are on, option A is if you don't have any changes to the revisions in attachment 1 that I've just went over.
132.
32. Thank you. 132, yeah.
Option A would be what you suggest, right?
What I recommend.
Okay.
Before you get there, make a change and like add something or change something.
Before you move on, I just have one scenario. So for the few that were listed similar to the acupuncture board, if they said yes, what was the follow-up from the board? What's our follow-up from?
Well, my discussion with Ms. Caldwell was, that they refer the affirmative responses to a subject matter expert, psychiatrist, psychologist, to determine whether what has been provided, because usually we get the medical records associated with it, would indicate that they are a danger to public and that they may not be able to practice safely. And they might have an impairment, essentially affecting competency to practice. And so would look at that recommendation and see whether, the recommendation would be to deny them on probation with restrictions, including potential. You've seen these probation terms involve evaluation by a psychiatrist, and regular counseling and stuff like that. So, but that never went there. It didn't even go to that level because there was no recommendation that it be denied or restricted. So even the 2 that we got yeses, affirmative responses on, the board didn't do anything in those cases.
So there's only 2?
There were just 2.
Over what time span again? 10 years?
Since Julie's been here,
That's
how long has she been here?
15, yeah.
10 years? Was it 15?
Yeah, 2015 or 16.
I think Julie was here right around the same time I got here. So
Yeah,
at least 12 years.
15. Good.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I would love to entertain a motion.
Yes.
And so it would be option A. Do I need to read the entire option? Okay. Rescind
You
the,
can read it if you don't want.
oh, no, it's okay. Thank you. Rescind the motion passed at the board's November 2023 board meeting regarding this item. Approve the proposed regulatory text in attachment 1 and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all necessary steps to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at 16 CCR section 1399.506, 13399.507, 1399.511, and 1399.546 as noticed.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Yes.
Awesome. Public comments from the floor on WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. And Ms. Hurd, we can call for a vote.
Charles Alexander,
Aye.
Penta.
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Vasco Dianke,
Aye.
Deborah Snow. Aye.
Excellent. The vote is approved. Excellent. Moving on to item number 18, regulation updates by Ms. Dillon.
The first package are LP 6 and 7 license renewal and continuing medical education required. This package is on hold pending legislation in 2020. Plans to seek amendments to the Pension Code section 3523 to address apparent authority issues with providing the renewal application online through Breeze.
And can I just explain a little bit about that? So, unlike your initial application statutes, the renewal application statute actually says it has to be in a form provided by the board. And the statute was enacted in 1983. And so ever since the board started to move to an online platform, the Office of Administrative Law has questioned whether the legislature really granted us authority to move to electronic submission. When given the date of the timing of the rising statute, and in 1983, we didn't have computers and cell phones. So they're like, on a form means, a paper one. So I ran the renewal text you'd approved in November by them and just said, hey, is this a problem authority wise? And they said, well, we couldn't tell you for sure. We reserve the right to disapprove your package. And I was like, really? Okay, well, I guess we're getting a legislative change. I mean, I think it's a little strict of an interpretation, frankly, of the statute, but I don't want to argue with them and I don't want to waste another year of your time arguing with them. So I think it's just shorter and easier for us to get the legislative fix, and then we can run the text while the bill's going through and hopefully get signed. Sunset bill.
Makes sense.
So that's the plan for that one. About that? Okay, thank you.
Moving on to item number 18. The next topic, SB 697, application scores on system record keeping. At the November 6th, 2023 meeting, the board approved the proposed regulatory language to reinitiate the rulemaking process. However, the text approved at the November 6th, 2023 board meeting does not reflect the board's transition to an online application system, but rather still refers to submission of the application to the board at Sacramento office, which is a paper application. In addition, not all statutorily required elements of the initial application were covered in a way inconsistent with current law or case law interpreting certain terms used in the proposal. The board is asked to adopt the proposed revised regulatory language to initiate the rulemaking. The next package is AB 2461, retired status to include fingerprint requirements. Staff will be working on initial documents to submit for initial review next calendar year. And following that is SB 1441, implement uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees and update of disciplinary guidelines. Staff will be working on the proposed language for board approval in the next calendar year. And finally is the new regulatory package that was just discussed, the initial license fee. This proposal will increase the initial license fee to $250 to cover operational costs, including processing applications, maintaining licensing systems, and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. And staff was requesting that the board discuss and approve this.
Excellent. Do we have any comments or questions from the floor? Any comments from WebEx? Public comments?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or click on the outline of a hand. At this time, there are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right, moving on to item. Thank you so much, Ms. Dillon and Ms. Led for your reports. They have been in-depth and very helpful to all of us to make sure that we understand.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yes. Again, and to Ms. Shields, I do really appreciate you coming back to the board and making this plain and simple for us, because I know that you do an excellent job. So again, your legislative prowess is just, exemplary. So thank you again.
Help from everybody here. I'm glad that you're so engaged with your laws and regulations. It really makes me happy. I want to thank you again for your service and leadership, and it's been a pleasure working.
And thank you, Ms. Dillon. Since you've come on to the legislative committee, you've made our job super easy. I don't really have to do much, but just review and things like that. So thank you again. The legislative team is amazing. And so it's been my honor to work with you and see that you guys are doing such a great job. So thank you again. All right, moving on to item number 19, Workforce Development Advisory Committee with Dr. Alexander. And
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, it gives me a great pleasure to present this report for the last time of this committee and passing it on to I'm sure we'll find new committee members going forward, but also want to thank incoming president for his support and expertise and assistance with this report as well. The report pretty much mirrors the last report in some respect in terms of the number of programs that we have in the country, as well as accredited PA programs in the state. Is 21. You can also see the standing of those programs: 2 on probation, 6 provisionally accredited, 2 are developing, as well as the geographic distribution. So you see 15 in the Southern California area, Bay Area, 2 in the Central Valley and Sacramento, and the Central Coast. You see the number, the capacity. I think we talked about this last time in terms of the impact it's going to have on workforce, in terms of the result of some of the programs that were closed or are closing. And also, you can also see the average number of faces or program students per program. I'm going to defer and turn it over to my colleague, because there are some comments I'm sure he would like to make. And we talked about and our concern going down the line in terms of the future of the programs in the state, that implication has for board.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander, for that eloquent report. It has been an honor and privilege to work with you. The Educational Workforce Committee, you will be missed but not forgotten. So thank you again for your leadership and your mentorship throughout this process. There has been some positive developments that recently came to light, I think, over the last couple of weeks. And so I want to share some of those. California Physician Assistant programs, as you know, Cal State San Bernardino, Cal State University San Bernardino has developed a 27-month Masters of Science Physician Assistant program and plans to enroll its first cohort in August of 2025. So that is a fairly positive development, pending approval from the accreditor, of course. There has also, the accreditor has granted the California Baptist University the ability to expand its PA program from 30 to 60 students per cohort, starting in the fall of 2025. And many of you know Western University had a bit of a moratorium. They could not matriculate students. They just received approval from the accreditor to matriculate students. So they have now accepted 98 students into the cohort. So those are very positive developments for the distribution, Western University of Health Sciences. So they're, for those who don't know, they're currently on probation. They have a site visit in 2025. There was a moratorium on their ability to matriculate students. Now they have received approval from the accreditor, which we consider to be a positive development, to now accept a new cohort of students starting this fall, which they have. And that number is 98 students incoming for the 2024 fall semester. So congratulations to those universities, and certainly positive development in the distribution of PAs now and in the future.
And thank you so much. And I thought I heard you correctly, and I was like, did you? That is excellent news. So again, thank you to Drs. Alexander. I will say that it's just been my pleasure to be able to come and work with you. We came in at the same time in 2012 and then starting in 2013. So it's been 12 years of excellent work. Thank you for your example and leadership. You were the first African-American vice president to, be a part of the physician assistant board. And so your leadership has helped me tremendously. So I'm happy to end my PAB career with you. And so again, thank you so much. Thank you again to Vice President Kidd, now President Kidd. It's been just a force being able to work with you and get the things accomplished that we did in this quick year.
All those late night phone calls.
Yes. Great work. And so I just wish you the best in your year to come. So I can't say enough. Thank you so much. The year again has gone so fast, but it's been just a joy to work with you. And then your support has been, just the best. And then also I'm wishing you to continue on in that vein for the years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Early.
I'm happy that I'm leaving it in such good hands. So thank
Like Allstate.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. All right. So thank you again. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. And thank you so much for the information and that great news for the physician assistant programs that are coming or either increasing or coming back on board. So that helps tremendously. So moving on to item number 20 of the legislative. Oh, sorry. Do we have any public comment from the floor? We'll do that. And then also on WebEx.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists, or simply click on the outline of a hand. There are no requests. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. All right, moving on to item number 20. We have the report by the legislative specialist, legislative update by Ms. Dillon again.
Okay, Madam President. These have been discussed at the previous meetings, and just the final.
Okay.
Yes. Item number 20A is AB 2270, Healing Arts Continuing Education, Menopausal Mental or Physical Health. This bill was approved and chaptered by the Secretary of State. And just as a refresher, this bill would require our board in determining our continuing education requirements to consider a course in menopausal mental or physical health. The next bill listed is AB 2442, Healing Arts Expedited Licensure Process, Gender Affirming Healthcare and Gender Affirming Mental Health Care. This bill was vetoed by the governor. Next bill, AB 2581, Healing Arts Continuing Education, Maternal Mental Health. This bill was approved and chaptered by the Secretary of State. And this bill requires our board to determine in determining continuing education requirements to consider a course in maternal mental health. Bill, item number D is AB 3119, Physicians and Surgeons, Nurse Practitioners, and Physician Assistants Continuing Medical Education, Infection Associated Chronic Conditions. This bill was chaptered by the Secretary of State and requires our board to consider in our continuing education requirements for our licensees in infection associated chronic conditions, including long COVID. Next bill is AB 3127, Reporting of Crimes Mandated Reporters. This bill is considered dead. And just as a reminder, this bill would have removed the requirement that a health practitioner make a report to law enforcement when they suspect a patient has suffered physical injury caused by assaultive or abusive conduct. Next bill listed is SB 639, Medical Professionals Course Requirements. This bill was approved and chaptered by the Secretary of State. And this bill would require a physician assistant who provides primary care to a patient population of which over 25% are 65 years of age or older to complete at least 20% of all mandatory continuing education hours in a course in the field of geriatric medicine, the special care needs of patients with dementia, or the care of older patients. Finally, SB 1067, Healing Arts Expedited Licensure Process, Medically Underserved Area or Population. This bill was vetoed by the governor. And just as a reminder, this bill would have required our board to develop a process to expedite the licensure process by giving priority review status to the application of an applicant for a license determines that they intend to practice in a medically underserved area or serve a medically underserved population. And that
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions from the PA board or the floor? All right. Are there questions from WebEx? Public comment.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark, type the word comment, send it to all panelists. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you again, Ms. Dillon. Excellent work. All right, moving on to item number 21, agenda for the next meeting. Do we have any information that we would like to include? Yes, maybe Sunset.
Yes. Update on Sunset.
Update on Sunset, okay. Any other that you can think of? Any information from the floor that we need to include?
Christy Shields, Relations Council again. I thought we were thinking about the retired license.
Yes, to,
Add fingerprint requirement.
yes, to bring that
Bring the text back.
back. Yep.
Rec that we were thinking. Besides the return.
Was it? No.
Okay.
Is there any comment from WebEx, public comment? From WebEx?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. Instructions are on the screen. If you'd like to participate, click that comment, that question mark inside of the square, type the word comment and send it to all panelists. No request. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you again for that information for our next meeting. I think that moves us to our closed session, which we do not have any constituents to discuss, but we do have some information, our EO that we need to discuss. Other than that, I think we are ready to adjourn. But before we do that, thank you again to this wonderful staff. It's been my joy to work with you and for you. And I just implore you to continue on in my absence. So thank you again. Much love to you guys. All right. And okay, so we're moving on to closed session and we will not adjourn at this time. We'll adjourn following the closed session.
And for members of the public who may be logged in on WebEx, this, we will be adjourning from closed session. So this ends the public portion of the meeting. Thank you.
And so so do we have to give a time on that one? Okay, all right. Thank you so much.